Calling the regular council meeting of Monday, February 27th, 2017 to order. And as usual, I just ask everyone to join us in a brief moment of reflection. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Henderson, are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor Brockenier, there's a presentation from the Ontario 55+ Winter Games Organizing Committee co-chairs, Paul Ellen and Eugene Todd, and the action recommended that the matter be added to the agenda.
Seconder, Councillor Burkett. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any declarations of interest from members of council tonight? If there are not any, Mr. Davey, we can proceed.
Your Worship, the first item of business is the adoption of special council minutes of January 23rd, 2017, and the regular council minutes of January 30th, 2017.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended that council adopt the minutes of special council meeting held on January 23rd, 2017, and the regular council meeting held on January 30th, 2017.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Burkett. And of course, the January 23rd meeting was the meeting that we had to select our newest member of council, Deputy or Councillor Darling.
Yes, Your Worship. If I may have an amendment made to the minutes of January 23rd. They have me marked as being present, and I was in Florida at the time, so I think that should be corrected.
Well, we know you were present in spirit.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Okay. It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, we have a presentation this evening. A presentation by co-chairs Paul Allen and Eugene Todd from the Ontario 55+ Winter Games Organizing Committee.
Welcome, Paul and Eugene. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I guess you haven't had enough, so you're... But we certainly appreciate everything that you have done. It was highly successful games. I've had tremendous feedback from everyone I've talked to, the visitors and so on. I get emails, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful event for Cobourg, and we owe the two of you a real debt of gratitude. So I want to thank you for that, and you may go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. Quite frankly, whoops, I usually don't need a microphone anyway, but we really don't have a presentation tonight other than the fact that I think Paul and I want to express our appreciation for having the honor of chairing the games, and also the public acknowledgement of the hundreds of volunteers that we had that just did a bang-up job and really supported us along the way. We had a pretty darn good team to run the games, and I think that was really all our presentation was, other than the fact that I believe we are prepared to show members of council and the media and the public a copy of our closing 3-minute video that we had made for the games, and give council a flavor of the excitement and the interest that happened within the games. Mr. Co-Chair, does that sound okay?
I couldn't say much more than that. I think those are about the exact words that I would use. We really do appreciate having this opportunity. It was an honor, and give us a few days before you ask us to do anything else.
Well, I know you had a really good group of volunteers, but you know, any volunteer base definitely needs some leadership, and I know that's what you were able to provide. And as I said, it's very much appreciated. I'm just going to pass it over to members of council who may have some comments or questions while they're here. Councillor McCarthy. Yes, I know.
Thank you, Mayor Brockenier, and I'm going to ask some questions because I was on the organizing committee with Paul and Eugene, and actually cleaned up my folder from the time the bid was made, which was February 2015. I think you came on 2 weeks later. It's been a 2-year effort, and I was wondering if you could share a few of the stats, like how many participants, because the video is just visual, how many scarves, how many meals, if you can give some flavor to the most successful games, please.
The number of participants was just shy of 800. We had originally hoped to get to the cap, which we could have taken up to almost 1,000. There were some areas that didn't fill, and then, of course, we had to, because of the weather, cancel 2 of the 10 events. The downhill skiing was canceled because the conditions were deemed unsafe, and still some of those people came. About 6 of them came and skied for pleasure, because the pleasure skiing was all right. And we had to cancel the cross-country skiing as well. As although some spots in the forest weren't bad, there were some bare spots out in the open, and the downhill sections of it were a little dangerous as well. So that's why we ended up where we did with numbers. Volunteers, we have had a lot of volunteers that we've had difficulty with the numbers trying to keep track, because we've had so much support from things like the West Northumberland Curling Club, the Brighton Curling Club, who looked after the events all themselves and didn't ask anything of us. They manned them. They led them. We had the sport leads as part of our working group, but beyond that, they recruited all their own people. We also had, from both the high schools where events were held, a very large portion of student volunteers. We just haven't seen exactly what those numbers were. In some cases, they weren't kids for the whole day. They were in and out, and they took turns and shared roles and that. But I would say, likely when we tally everything up, we're pretty close to 200 volunteers for that event.
And
Go ahead.
thank you, Mayor. Just as a follow-up before we see the video, 1,000 scarves were made, and that was a delight to the participants to have those. And the other really remarkable part of the games that we knew it was special, but the response was amazing, were the designed awards from Holtleton Sculpture, and the participants were able to purchase souvenir red apples of the Holtleton design. So that part was well received. The other is the organizing committee worked solidly for a year, and I just want to tell you that when it started, a lot of the chairs felt, oh, I'm going to need help. I'm just going to need help to even do this role. And yet, as we got more immersed in the games with the leadership of Paul and Eugene, I think people just rose to the occasion and got more comfortable with their leadership. And then, of course, the troops came when it mattered. But I also want to recognize the staff of the CCC. They really, really went beyond call during the games. Ashley Haynes, Alyssa Bevan, and we were fortunate enough to have a placement student of Sarah McLean, and also just the staff in general at the CCC. Everybody just saw it through, and I think the operating word is we're all, well, this is the last night I get to wear my outfit, but everybody started to feel like a big event, how wonderful it was, and you almost kind of want to keep going, but it's one for the books. And if I haven't mentioned anybody, please share that, because it's hard to remember them all, but you might think of something.
I think you've mentioned the ones that certainly carried the ball and had a lot of the work to do. I will echo, though, your sentiment. Having worked in the sporting fields and organizing events of many different kinds in this community, and school-related events and other things that I've done over the years, I don't think I've worked with a staff that has been more committed and has taken on so much and done such an excellent job. The town of Cobourg is really fortunate to have some of the people working for them that they do.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Seguin.
Thank you as well. I heard from all kinds of people the time that I was there how great Coburg was, and they all said some of them had been in games for several times, and they, without a doubt, said these are the best games they'd ever attended. I'm sure you heard that several times as well. My question is about the little souvenir apple. I tried 3 times to buy one, and the last day they had just been shipped over to the Lions Center, and I got there, and there was 3 buses of line-up people going in, so I didn't bother. But are there any left, or are they all gone?
Councillor Sagan, yes, they are still available.
Oh, good.
In actual fact, it was a pretty good move on our part to move them to the Lions Center because we had pretty good sales that evening.
Oh, good.
And also Jan Halselton came and sold them for us. So I mean, she volunteered herself to come and actually sell them, and we sold quite a handful that evening. But we do still have more left. She has had inquiries about getting some to people. We've offered to package them up and send them to anybody of our that were in the games that would be interested in having them, and certainly we'll make them available to members of the public as well.
I'll be in touch then, because I really would like one. Thank you.
Yes, again, I was talking to the gentleman at the games. I partook in watching some of the hockey games, some of the volleyball. Again, wonderful experience as usual. And I was going to ask the same as Councillor Sagan about them, but where will we purchase those in future?
They're back at the CCC.
They are there.
So ask at the reception desk. I know Alyssa's in the back room working all week, and if anybody dropped in by there, I'm sure she'd be able to help out.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Rowden.
Yeah, sorry, I'm got a little bit late tonight, Your Worship, but anyways, I would just like to echo my thanks to you guys for the great organization of putting on those games. I know that this is the 150th year we're celebrating for Canada, so I'm sure you'll go down in history in the town of Coburg as probably the second biggest event we've had this year, and thanks for all the organization that you did. So, well done.
Now, it's my understanding there is a short video that was shown at the opening ceremonies that we're going to see now.
You want to go ahead? We're going to
blocking you up. It's actually just before you start it. It's not. There was a video shown.
Ian, can you stop it just for a sec?
Just, it's important. Go down.
Yeah.
Okay. There was 2 videos. The first video, if you were at the opening ceremonies, it was shown at the opening ceremonies. Subsequent to that, our videographer went around during the games and basically traced the time from Wednesday morning until late afternoon on Thursday, and that's what this video is reflective of. So, and it reflects the levels of activity and what went on.
And he also integrated part of the original video with some of the new footage, so it all started to make sense, and it really told a story. And I think you'll see how some of the things have been integrated together.
Action.
Great, thank you. Yes, that short video says a lot in 3 minutes. So there's no doubt there was a lot of activity in Coburg and surrounding area to support the games, and it's absolutely wonderful. So any other comments, closing comments you'd like to make, Councillor Seguin?
Is there any chance we could get a copy of the video, or is that even possible to put on our website so people could see it? I know your website has been taken down now, at least it was the last time I checked.
We're working on getting that back up.
Oh, good.
It's
So-
a small
Glitch.
small glitch.
Small glitch?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that, certainly the copy that is here. Is
It's just
available.
nice for people at
Oh, it
home
should
to
be,
see
sure.
it, you know,
Yeah.
that they came to the games. And
Yeah, Brent.
We do have a temporary link on the town website to get around our glitch, so people were able to get to the results. So you could certainly use that and tie it into that. That would be no problem.
But when the glitch is overcome, the video will be on the website.
Sure. Okay, Councillor McCarthy?
I would like to make some closing remarks to give a sense of how successful this was. We were accountable with these games to the Ontario Seniors Game Association because they're the ones that set the regulations, and summer and winter games have been in effect. I believe they said 13 years. This is the 8th Winter Games. We were also accountable to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, and I spoke to the president of OSGA. I was a little cheeky. I just went right up to her and said, "How'd we do?" And she's a very, very stern-looking woman, but she looked at me and she said, "I haven't had this much fun in a long time." And I also heard via our director and the co-chairs that the ministry was just thrilled with what happened. So that's a benchmark. Well, that is the benchmark. I'm afraid we've probably made it very difficult for other communities to follow up, but it's nice to have a high level. So again, Paul and Eugene, what these gentlemen did was give unflagging leadership, but also enthusiasm, raising funds, public awareness, problem solving, and there's always glitches at the last moment, and they covered it off. So we're very, very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, good job.
Well, so thanks again, and I hope that we're already doing a little bit of brainstorming on the next project that we can get you two gentlemen involved in. You've done such a great job. I know that I know whatever else we can come up with and pass over to you will be a great success. So again, thank you very much on behalf of council, staff, and all of Coburg.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. The action recommended that council receive the notes of the committee of the whole meeting held on February 13th, 2017 for information purposes.
Seconder, Councillor Darling. All in favor? Carried.
The next report is from Protection Services, and it's a memo from the Chief Administrative Officer and Bylaw Enforcement Policy Coordinator regarding the Town of Coburg Draft Multi-Year Accessibility Plan 2016 to 2019 and the Town of Coburg Accessibility Audit Plan.
Okay, Councillor McCarthy. This is the report, and obviously we have a motion following later in the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Brockenier. I just, before I put the motion on the floor, it's just that, of course, Council received this as information, and just to say that this report was brought forward from last week. I'm very grateful to staff that that we were able to go back to the committee because there were new members and they didn't see it in totality, and the committee is very much behind this. So I'll speak further to that when the motion comes up. But for now, it's to accept the report for information.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Seguin. Discussion on the report? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, before we go to the next item, since Councillor Rowden joined the meeting late, you may want to ask him if he has any declaration of interest.
Okay.
No,
Rowden?
Your Worship, I don't.
The third report is under Community Services. It's a memo from the events coordinator regarding the municipal event application, Country Wild Music Festival in Victoria Park, Town of Cobourg.
Okay, Councillor Seguin.
The motion is that council receive this for information, and perhaps Dean, would you, Director Husworth, you'd like to make some information about the. This is a brand new Country Wild Music Festival that's coming to Cobourg. So I understand everything is in order.
I'll just get a seconder since you made the
Sorry.
motion. Okay, Councillor Rowden is a seconder. Now it's on the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Seguin. This is an event that has been in discussion for a couple years with between the organizers and staff, and for various reasons. It didn't proceed previously, but throughout the fall, ongoing discussions were taking place. And as you know, the event application committee that reviews these types of applications had considerable discussions that involves bylaw enforcement, parks, event staff, the police, emergency services, and the fire department. And we understand that the concerns that were identified have been addressed, and staff are recommending that this proceed. And we believe that it's a new event that has tremendous potential from a tourism perspective, from an economic development business perspective. In comparison to many of the events, it's still relatively small, estimated at 1,500 to 2,000, but still a significant event that's going to bring people into the downtown area. Obviously, we'll be working very closely with bylaw enforcement and the police to ensure that the event is run smoothly and doesn't have problems. But we haven't identified any additional difficulties that would prevent us from recommending we proceed with this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Director Hustwick.
Any comments from any member of council?
Councillor Darling?
Yes, just to further add to Councillor Hustwick, Matt Williams is a local boy who's been involved in the music business here for quite a while, and he approached me approximately a year ago asking if we would be at all interested, and I assured him if things were set up properly, we would be. At this time, Matt's a pretty regular down in Nashville. He does a little bit of songwriting and is down there quite a bit. So I think with his popularity in the area, it should be a really successful event, and I hope that people will come out and support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, the next item on the agenda would be the motions.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Henderson?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Burkett. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered the 2017 water budget recommendations as presented by the Manager of Regulatory Compliance and Finance, Lakefront Utility Services, Inc., held on February 13th, 2017. Now therefore be it resolved that Council approve the 2017 operating budget for water services for the Town of Cobourg, indicating a projected total revenue of $4,517,612 and total expenses of $2,598,000 plus amortization of $1,108,861 for a projected net income of $810,750, as noted on the Waterworks Town of Cobourg proposed budget attached hereto as Appendix A. Further be it resolved that Council approve the 2017 capital budget for water services for the Town of Cobourg in the amount of $2,230,000 as outlined in the Waterworks Summary 2017 Capital Budget attached hereto as Appendix B. And I
Okay.
know that council was certainly part of all the budget deliberations, so I think this motion certainly speaks for itself.
It's moved and seconded. We had Adam Giddings from the financial manager from Lakefront Utilities here 2 weeks ago when we first presented this committee of the whole. Are there any further questions or discussion? All in favor then? And it's carried.
The next motion is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Burkett, whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a letter from Autism Ontario regarding a proclamation of World Autism Awareness Day on April 2nd, 2017. And whereas World Autism Awareness Day will be recognized on April 2nd, 2017 in Canada thanks to Liberal Senator Jim Munson's Bill S-206, an act respecting World Autism Awareness Day. And whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, affects more than 135,000 Ontarians, autism spectrum disorder is now recognized as the most common neurological disorder, affecting 1 in every 94 children, as well as their friends, family, and community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Council proclaim April 2nd, 2017 as World Autism Awareness Day in the town of Cobourg.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Darling.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a motion from the Committee of Whole regarding the naming of the linear park located in New Amherst Subdivision, Cobourg. The motion reads, whereas the Committee of Whole has considered a memo from the Secretary of Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee regarding the naming of the New Amherst Linear Park. Now therefore be it resolved that Council receive the motion from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and respectfully deny the request from New Amherst Limited to name the linear park Willow Park. And further, that the town review the park's naming policy through public consultation and develop a list of potential names for future town of Cobourg parks.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Protection Services, Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the motion that flows from having received the report regarding the draft multi-year accessibility plan, and which the Accessibility Committee has approved recommended that Council accept. So moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Henderson. Whereas the regular Council has considered a memo from the Chief Administrative Officer and the Bylaw Enforcement Policy Coordinator regarding the Town of Cobourg Draft Multi-Year Accessibility Plan 2016 to 2019 and the Town of Cobourg Accessibility Audit Program. Now therefore be it resolved that Council accept in principle the Draft Multi-Year Accessibility Plan 2016-2019 as required pursuant to Section 4 of Ontario Regulation 191-11 Integrated Accessibility Standards, which outlines the organization strategy to prevent and remove barriers and meet its requirements under the Ontario regulation. And further, that staff complete a comprehensive audit checklist and direct staff to work with the Accessibility Advisory Committee to complete the 2017 audit program for development of a final multi-year accessibility plan for presentation to Council and consideration beginning in the 2018 budget cycle.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This motion actually speaks to quite a bit of work that's going to happen between now and probably about September or October. The CAO has targeted the Health and Safety Committee, and inside of it an accessibility working group that will track the audits, and that the audits are going through the checklist that you received in the report. They'll system-wide, there's going to be a check-in of where we're at, what's been done, how it was achieved, where are the gaps, and where are we going to go. This is called multi-year from 2016 because the template where the framework for it was developed last year, but all the pieces have come together now. And the Accessibility Advisory Committee's role in all of this is to check in with the results of those audits, hear what the existing barriers are, and provide recommendations for priorities as to where budget expenditures will go. The regulation is very specific, so it's not as if we're reinventing the wheel, it's just pulling all the pieces together. And from here on in until 2025, the town has to meet the standards set up in all of the areas of the accessibility plan. So we're really looking forward to it. It's a very enthusiastic and deeply interested committee. This will also involve public consultation. The regulation determines that you must have public engagement with persons with disabilities, so there'll be some actions in that area as well. But I do believe the community at large will be interested in this, but I'm very pleased that we're pulling this together, and this is a pivotal year for compliance, so we'll be getting it done. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that explanation, Councillor McCarthy. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor of the motion, and it's carried. Councillor Burkett, Planning and Development Services.
The first motion tonight is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Darling. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Planning Department, Planner 1, Heritage, regarding the Downtown Cobourg Vitalization Community Improvement Plan, Implementation Plan. Now therefore be it resolved that Council receive the report for information purposes, and further that Council endorse the implementation of the Downtown Cobourg Vitalization Community Improvement Plan, CIP, as outlined in the staff report.
Moved and seconded, and again, it was the report came to us at Committee of the Whole 2 weeks ago. Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Burkett, you're on again.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Darling. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Secretary of the Cobourg Heritage Advisory Committee regarding a heritage permit application for a single-story 10-unit addition on the north rear of the existing building located at 100 University Avenue East, Victoria Retirement Residence. Now therefore be resolved that Council endorse the comments from the Cobourg Heritage Advisory Committee and grant the heritage permit number HP-2017-003 for the property located at 100 University Avenue East, Cobourg, Victoria Retirement Residence for a 10-unit residential addition located at the north rear of the existing building, subject to finalization of details and conditions by staff.
Okay, and I think the key phrase there is that it's subject to the finalization of details and conditions by staff, so at some point it will come back to us. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Seguin.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a very difficult motion here. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Events Coordinator regarding the municipal event application 55 Plus Winter Games Middle Night Mingle in downtown Cobourg, now therefore be it resolved that Council approve the road closure of King Street from Division Street to George Street on Wednesday, February the 2nd, 2017 between 5:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. for the 55-plus Winter Games Middle Night Mingle event, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Burkett.
Better late than never, but now it's official.
Now it's official.
Any discussion? Councillor McCarthy?
Yes, I contest this motion. Just to say that middle night of the Ontario's 55-plus games was very successful, and the participants were grateful for the DBI stores that stayed open, and with the performances at Victoria Hall and also in the art gallery, they were full to capacity. In fact, some people had to be turned away because of regulations, so a very, very successful event.
Okay. Other comments, discussion? All in favor? Carried.
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Burkett. Whereas the regular council has considered a memo from the events coordinator regarding the municipal event application, Country Wild Music Festival in Victoria Park, town of Cobourg. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the Country Wild Music Festival on Saturday, June the 3rd, 2017, set up June the 2nd in Victoria Park and the Lions Pavilion.
Okay. Any, well, we've already had the explanation from Director Hustwick. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
Your Worship, normally at this point we'd have the reading of the bylaws, and there are no bylaws this evening. Moving to correspondence, there is one letter from the Downtown Business Improvement Area Board Secretary regarding the new official logo for downtown Cobourg.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended that council receive the letter for information purposes.
Councillor Seguin, discussion? All in favor? Carried.
And that will take us to coordinator reports.
Okay, I do have a few items tonight. First of all, the Business Achievement Awards. I'd like to thank all members of council and staff that showed up. I think it's very, very important, that we be seen as supporting all of our local businesses. It was a very, very successful night, and I think it was enjoyed by everybody. It gives you a good sense of just all the businesses that are out there that are performing at a high level. So it's important, as I said on Friday night, not just to recognize them, but also give recognition to all of the businesses that are contributing to our local economy. It's so important. Now, under new businesses, we do have a new business that's going to be opening in mid-March called Cobourg X-Ray and Ultrasound. So our Economic Development Office has located space for them at 210 Wilmot Street, which is the Diamond Head Mall. They'll be operating out of the second floor, not their preference because it's not accessible, but it'll give them a good feel for what kind of business there is in Cobourg. They will begin by employing one X-ray technician, one ultrasound technician, and once he is busy enough, he said he will hire a receptionist. Under business retention, we have several things going on. We're currently working with two businesses that are located in the same building, and one of the businesses is also the owner of the building. He's expressed a great need to expand, bring in more equipment, and hire 15 people. So we're trying to work with them to see if we can't get some funding that'll help them expand, and then keep both businesses in the same location, which is what both of them would prefer to do. We're also working with a relatively new commercial printing business that we helped to locate in the former National Fastener building up on Ontario Street. The building, because of the business they're in, they have high internet demands, and they're in need of fiber to support their internet business. They currently have 12 employees, and again, we're trying to get some funding for them because the way the fiber is located in the town of Cobourg, it's not convenient to get it to them, and we have to cross a right-of-way and may in fact have to bore underground to get it to them. So we're also working on that. The Community Employment Resource Partnership, which is known as SERP, will again host a Northumberland County job fair. Nearly 30 organizations are looking to hire, including over 15 new participants, and they'll be meeting with the interested job seekers at the Coburg Lions Center on March the 7th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I know that through our business retention program and calls we've made on some of the businesses, that I know some of the businesses that will be looking to hire through this process. So that's again good news. We're adding to the employment base in the town of Coburg. And finally, I just want to remind everyone to mark April the 5th at 7 p.m. in your calendar for the Civic Awards. So as you know, we have our annual Civic Awards ceremonies here in Victoria Hall, April the 5th, 7 p.m., and all members of council will be taking part in it. As you know, we have a variety of awards, some major awards and some distinguished awards, but and it will be at a sold-out crowd. The concert hall will be packed, and we are asking members of council to come. We will give them direction. We will have reserved seats for them at the front of the ceremony, and each member of council will be called on to go up and present awards to some of the volunteers that are being recognized. So that's the end of my report. Councillor Rowden?
Yes, Your Worship. I see up Ontario Street that the new cookie plant or factory is pretty well up, and I just wondered if you had any information in regards to when it may be opening. Or
I do believe they're several months away from opening, because once they get the building built, they have to relocate all their equipment. So it doesn't look like a very early, it's going to be in the next month or so. Although they did provide everybody the Business Achievement Awards with a box of Sprucewood cookies. So they're still operating out of Warkworth, and eventually they'll be operating out of Coburg. Councillor Darling, or Councillor Deputy Mayor Henderson first.
Thank you, Worship. Just a few items under general government this month, and when I say this month, it doesn't mean it will be finished in a month. It means the discussions may go on for some time, and we may not see them till the fall. But we are going to, under Mr. Davey, Mr. Davies' department is going to deal with the tax vacancy rebate. And I'd like to just make clear, because it's tax-related, all tax-related issues need to be dealt with at Northumberland County, and it's Northumberland County who will eventually make the resolutions and the motions. But we're pleased that collectively this topic is going to be discussed and reviewed. As well, there's a notice out for a part-time municipal enforcement bylaw officer as we move in a new direction for the town of Coburg. So I'm pleased to see that posting is out. As well, we'll be looking at our town reserve. We have a great policy, but it's time to perhaps look at how we can refine our bylaw and bring that back to members of council. And for that, I'll be working with the audit committee that we already have in place. We're also going to review now it's been 2 years approximately, we're also going to review the municipal community grant policy review. And for that, I'm going to ask for the assistance, as I've done before, Councillor McCarthy. And I'm going to be inviting our newcomer, Councillor Seguin, to join us as we look at how we can enhance that as we move forward. And the hope is we would have all of these in place prior to budget discussions for the fall of towards 2018. We're also going to be working on the street naming policy combination, but I'll take direction from the clerk. He was thinking perhaps that maybe the parks and street naming policy could be combined into more of an efficient policy that would serve both ends. So I'll certainly wait for direction from our deputy clerk on that one. I wasn't here previous week to say my many thanks for everybody, the town of Cobourg, the West Northumberland Curling Club, and being a fellow curler and a member of the club, and having to see both the Scotties and Tankard here was just phenomenal. And if you were able to watch last night's game, where Rachel Holman is now going to represent Canada at the Worlds, and just to think a few weeks earlier, here she was curling in the town of Cobourg. So my many thanks to all those volunteers and staff members. They did an exemplary level of service. And I'd like to end on a note. I know Mayor Brockner attended this as well, but I was personally invited to a special birthday party of Jean Boudreau, and I can tell you it was very special indeed. I got invited, so I went, but it's my first. Jean turned 100 years young, and when I saw her out there on doing the twist or whatever she's doing on the dance floor, I thought, oh my God, I'm just praying I could walk at 100. And so she was certainly enjoying herself, has her wits about her, and she did want me to pass on to everybody that she did vote for all of you in the past election. So on that wonderful note, that is my report.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. You're right, she was very spry and lively, and she certainly has all her facilities. Had a great conversation with her, and she's got, she could recall things back many, many years, as well as things that happened more recently. So it was a good event. Councillor Darling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Like everybody else, I'm quite happy to see that the nice weather's here, and more's on its way. But unfortunately, that's meant closing our outdoor rink early before the March break, which I'm sure is going to upset a few of the younger kids who always enjoy that. But there's not much we can do about it. I'd like to let everybody know that we're involved with the Waterfront Users Needs Assessment and Detailed Design. The company we hired, Think Design, has been formally engaged and working with staff and the steering committee to finalize the project plan, including a community engagement strategy, which will be brought to council very soon for its information and released to the public. Now, this engagement strategy will be extensive and includes stakeholder meetings and several public open houses. There will be plenty of opportunities for everyone interested in our beautiful waterfront and its future design to become engaged and contribute in the process. That's going to be a huge event, establishing a new waterfront for us. I would really like to see the public engagement policy or engagement meetings well attended, so that everybody has some input. Along with that, we've staff have started planting seeds and clippings in the greenhouse for upcoming plantings. And just to let everybody know, open house for the greenhouse is Saturday, May 13th from 9 till noon. And again, it's been well attended before and hope to have it well attended in the future. Parks will be having a booth at the local home show on April 29th to promote Communities in Bloom and our Blue Flag program. And we hope to see lots of people there. We're busy building new picnic tables in our new parks facility. Is up with a tour at the last coordinators meeting. Mr. Thrasher took me through and saw the park staff there diligently working away on new picnic tables, which was nice to see. With the community center, we've had lots of discussion in regard to the Tankard and the 55 plus winter games. Again, we can't say enough for the staff and volunteers who made both of these a success. And during those events, people noticed the new canteen was open and did very well. And it was up and going within 3 weeks. So that's quite a pat in the back to the company we hired to get that all up and going. For our marina, this year we'll be taking individual reservations starting March 1st. Last year we took group reservations. This year we'll be starting with individuals. We've had 2 of our 3 big events, the RBC Cup, May 13th to the 21st. Again, a big reminder. The hockey was a huge success. I was happy to be there to present the silver medals to the team that finished second. I was congratulating on their effort. They weren't 100% happy. They really wanted the gold. But the one gentleman on the team said, I'll be back to see you for RBC Cup. He says he has a team in Cornwall, and he's hoping his team wins there so they can participate here. But he said he will be back to see us. Another reminder that the Canadian National Fastball U16 event will be held at Legion Fields this summer. And I'm sure RBC and this event are both looking for volunteers. So we can always use more volunteers. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Darling. And we're very fortunate that whatever event we hold, we always get enough volunteers. People in this town are very, very generous with their time. Councillor Rowden.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the first item I had on the list tonight was that 2 weeks ago, Thursday night, that I got reinstated as the chair of the Ganarask Conservation Authority again, and quite proud to have that honor. And we are moving along very well at the new Building 7, and I know that the Public Works employees are quite happy now to be in this new building and functioning very well from there. There was a public information session on the James Street East construction project. Was held here on Victoria Hall on the 16th. There was a very small turnout, and there was no concerns from anyone with the design. Our OCIF top up the application for this project was not approved. So a report on the funding status of this project will be on the agenda for committee on March the 6th, 2017. So we didn't get that funding that we kind of thought we might get, so we may have to go back to another source of funding, and I think the Treasurer probably has an answer for that at our next meeting. Design and preparation of tenders for capital projects continues, and Kerr Street, Hardin Street Bridge, and the James Street, they're being looked at right at this moment. Public Works vehicles are slowly coming back from the Superior restoration. There have been a lot of replacements of our seats and all the upholstery in them. It was regarded as there was a whole lot of soot and odor in them from the fire. So it's been a long time, and I think our staff has been very patient with using other equipment this winter, and thank God we didn't have snow every day or every other day. They might have been wore down pretty thin by now. And the contractor for building number 7 has a crew cleaning out final deficiencies. So that is basically part of my report, and I also have a press release tonight, which I will hand out to the press afterwards, that in regards to all the publicity in regards to the accidents of last week. And there's been a lot of interest and concern regarding students crossing King Street East at the CCI Collegiate in the vicinity of Abbott and Brook Road. Of particular concerns are children coming from the residential areas to the south and crossing King Street on their way to the new ZR Gummel and the CCI school. We all share a common concern and responsibility for the safety of our children in our community. The Mayor, Council, and I have asked staff to address this issue, and town engineering and planning staff have been meeting and will continue to meet with police, school officials to develop a strategy to alleviate this concern. A 4-step program is recommended, and it will include both short and long-term solutions. These steps are: in short term, step number 1, as soon as can be accomplished, establish a student crossing with guard in the vicinity of Cottesmore, Abbott, and King Street. Number 2, we want police will be carrying out an in-school education program so children are educated on how, when, and where to cross. In the longer term, step number 3, the town will work with the school board to carry out a full pedestrian and traffic study for the area influenced by both the CCI and the CR Gummel schools. This will inform further work to be considered. And step number 4, as part of the above noted, study considerations is to be given for the future realignment of Cottesmore Avenue to create a 4-way intersection at King with Abbott Boulevard. It is anticipated that this new intersection would be fully controlled with traffic and pedestrian lights. We are moving ahead with this work as soon as possible. We would welcome citizens' comments as we work to make this safe area as safe as possible for all. And I'll give the press each a copy after the meeting. Okay, and that's my report, Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rowden. I think, 4 very important steps, but it's also important to, let people know that the 4th step, which could be the realignment of Cottesmore to line up with Abbott, is a longer-term solution. It's not, whenever we deal with a property matter like that, it's not something that can be resolved within a month or two. No. Deputy Mayor Henderson?
Yes, either through you, Your Worship, or Councillor Rowden, or now Protection Services, Councillor McCarthy. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe this council already approved, at least I believe we already approved the community safety zone in that area, and perhaps I believe we have, but maybe the clerk can check back to ensure my mind is correct. If we didn't, it's something perhaps in your discussion you might want to consider, because I know we have a community safety zone. There's one noted just as we go up the busy intersection of Elgin Street and Burnham as we go towards Terry Fox School. And I know there are other public schools in particular, but if you could check that out through the clerk, because that could also serve as a short-term resolution. And I also know I had to do this in my previous experience, being a former administrator at my previous school. We requested an amendment through the town of Ajax and again also Pickering for them to do an amendment to extend their safety zone. And we did that as well because unfortunately I dealt with a very similar circumstance years ago. And we went to that council that time and they so agreed to extend it because of the just the length of property on both sides. But I give that to you just for follow-up, and you can let me know if my memory's working or not. Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Henderson, that was part of the discussion we had last Friday morning, school safety zones, and I think the consensus at that time was we have school safety zones around elementary schools, but have not had them around the secondary schools in the past. So that was something that Mr. Thrasher was looking into.
Your Worship?
Councillor Rowden.
Yeah, Your Worship, and I think really with this safety community, and we did discuss that last year, and I believe that there was added 2 more areas that were not in that particular category. But I think that now that there's a lot of public school kids crossing King Street at the high school, that it probably should be looked at, because I think that's where if it's elementary schools we do, it's likely one of the things that we should be looking at there as well.
And as I said, so Mr. Thrasher has got that on his list of things to do. Councillor Darling.
Yes, Your Worship. I have too been in discussion with a few people in regard to this issue. I made a couple notes myself in regard to it, and just as everybody is aware of, as a community, we're all responsible for the safety of our children, and I'm sure everybody takes that seriously. But I just thought, having driven my grandchildren to that school, I realized that a lot of the parents are in a bit of a rush in the morning, and I'm asking the parents if they could maybe just try and take a little more time, get there a couple of minutes earlier so that everybody can slow down and not be in the rush that we all tend to be in at times, and maybe we could slow that traffic down to a snail's pace through there. And an also thing is I realize that a lot of the people that tend to use King Street get to that intersection, and because of the amount of traffic at Cottesmore, Abbott, and all of that, and the offset alignment of the streets, it takes a little longer for the traffic to get through. Well, if they're coming from the east and they go down Brook Road or Coverdale, along Lakeshore, and up Darcy, I'm sure it would be just about the same amount of time, and it is a nice, slow, pleasurable drive down through there. So maybe thinking about alternating their route out of that area would help too. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Councillor Darling. And I would agree with you. Part of the problem is, the drivers we have today that are always in a rush and don't want to be held up for 2 seconds. And, I've experienced the same thing because I sometimes drop or pick up my grandchildren. One goes to CCI, the other goes to CR Gummel. So I've had the full Monty, as so to speak, in experiencing it. Okay. Councillor Burkett, you're next for your coordinator report. Oh, Councillor McCarthy, I'm sorry.
New pattern. Thank you, Mayor Brockenier. I'm now coordinator of protection services, and really began my chapter last week with the first attendance at meetings. But I will do a few little loose ends with respect to my former portfolio, which is so ably carried out by Councillor Seguin, because I do want one last thing I want to say about the games, and that is the legacy it leaves for active living in our seniors cohort. When one of the goals of the games is that we would increase the participation in our district. We are part of District 12, which includes Kawartha Lakes, Peterborough, and Northumberland counties. And going into the games, we really didn't have too many teams. Coming out of the games, there were 72 participants, which is quite remarkable. There were medals in District 12, and I won't go into details because it's in the paper right now, but in doubles tennis, I believe, hockey, and curling. But the other legacy is that many of the volunteers who watched the games are now themselves saying, you know what, I want to get involved. That looks like fun. And just a reminder to the public, these games are more about recreational sports. There is a competitive streak, of course, but I'll give you an example. In the sport that I was helping out with, it's called prediction skating. How you win is against yourself. You must be able to predict your time on the ice for a specified number of laps. And here's how tight it gets. There were faster skaters, but the woman who won gold, which I have the time, predicted she would do 27 laps in 15 minutes. She did it in 14 minutes, 59 seconds, and 90/100ths of a second. She knew herself, and she knew the ice. And that was just what was so much fun about it, because... and the other thing is the athletes were so collegial with each other. So... goodbye, Ontario 55-plus Winter Games. And just one sad note before I move on to protection services. We've lost a cultural treasure in the town of Cobourg. Richard Randall passed away last Tuesday. I think he's won every award possible for heritage, and he's involved in the arts. Richard was on the Victoria Square Phase 4 committee, and on the Public Art Project. He is the indefatigable promoter of Cobourg history, has often presented his postcard collection at events, the postcard collection of Cobourg. He sang in the Northumberland Orchestra Choir and was just this joyful, wonderful personality in town. So our condolences to his family. But we were informed that many of the precious articles that Richard owns will be donated to the town, so the legacy continues. Protection services. So now I'm involved with Cobourg Fire Services and was able to attend, and I want to bring that up. It was the Long Service Awards, and what's interesting is that this hadn't been done in many years. It's normally hosted by the Ontario Fire Marshal, but for some reason they haven't gotten around to it. So the Northumberland Firefighters Association hosted this event, which brought in fire services from around the county. All the municipalities were represented, and it happened in Alderville. And what was quite wonderful was that Chief Marsden gave us a traditional welcome, and then one of the councillors held a smudging ceremony. And I got to tell you, it was beautiful, but also somewhat unsettling for all these firefighters in the room who had to sit with the sacred elements of cedar, sage, tobacco, and sweetgrass being burnt. But we were all calm, and we took it in the way it was intended, which is a smudging ceremony, is in that moment you bring your higher self to the whatever it is being celebrated. And in the town of Coburg, 20-year medals went to Captain Scott McDonald and firefighter Brian Bland. 25-year medals went to Captains Mark Dimony, Aaron Blair, and Todd Wilson. And 30-year service bars went to Deputy Fire Chief Gene Thompson and Captain Todd Wilson. And then 35-year service bars went to Fire Chief Mike Villeneuve, to which we all said, "Did you start when you were 12?" And these long service awards are recognized at both the provincial and federal level. They're different things. So that was quite a wonderful start. Police services, and I can tell you that the issue of pedestrian accidents and fatalities is top of mind for them, but that has been covered. I did want to say that the public may or may not be aware, but renovations are occurring right now. So the main entrance is now closed. You still can enter the building, and it's quite obvious how to get into the building through a ramp. But the renovations are going to make the reception area more accessible. And one of the, in my mind, heroic renovations they're doing is an accessible washroom that will have a shower. Because there are people that live in downtown Coburg that have nowhere else to go. And so I just think this is they got funding for this, but what a wonderful outreach for those that are socially disadvantaged. I was just very heartened with it, as were some other members of the board. The other matter is that there are 3 recruits graduating from Ontario Police College April 5th. So I cannot go, but I've been told it's a wonderful ceremony because April 5th is the day of the Civic Awards, and I believe it's in Aylmer, the college. The
police college is in Aylmer, yes.
Yeah, and there was
so
just
if you went to the graduation ceremony, you wouldn't be back until 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Shucks. But it's wonderful to know that 3 recruits are coming through. Also, I wanted to say that another part of my mandate is the Community Emergency Planning Committee. They meet 3 times a year, and there was a meeting Friday morning. I will be speaking at every moment about the initiatives of this committee and what they'll be doing to make the public aware of what is being done, but also how people can self-manage. And we know about that 72-hour kit, because the goal is, in a real emergency, if we have to evacuate our homes, we are ready. We can grab our kits and go. I know that I have pieces of it together, but now I'm highly motivated to put it finally together, and I will report on that and hope people will do it along with me. So the first thing you do is get the list for the kit, and there's a really nice way that you can do it. They're going to be handing out eyeglass cleaners, cloths that list it all. The other one is signing up for Rapid Notify. It's a voluntary system, and the numbers automatically came through to them through Bell, but when people have cell numbers, they have to call up and sign in. If they go onto the website, there's a link to Rapid Notify. But of more importance locally is May 7th. A car seat clinic is being hosted by St. John's Ambulance at Vandermeer Toyota, and there's a limited number of spots, so it's important to register, and the number to call is 905-372-0564. And to get a spot for how to safely install a car seat at the clinic. And finally, Joint Animal Control Municipal Services Board. We met, and that's a brand new territory for me, and all I'm going to say is that the public may be aware that they were formerly called Shelter of Hope, but have been renamed to what they really are, which is Municipal Animal Services, and this is a joint board with Coburg, Port Hope, Hamilton Township, and Aulnoy-Calderman. And the signage of the new name is already in place, which hopefully will help people get. It's still located in the same place, but it's Municipal Animal Services. And the reasons for the name change is that's what it is. It's a legislated service, and that is what's being provided. And what I was heartened to hear was there's a real intent to clarify and not duplicate services. What the Humane Society does is wonderful, but it's different. Animal control is pretty much what it is. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Now, Councillor Burkett.
Just got a couple items tonight. Just kind of update. Everyone's probably noticed the HGM building as well as the Lindmac building, and as Councillor Rowden pointed out, the Cookie building are underway, which is quite good. You got three good-sized buildings going in right now in Coburg, which is good to see. Just to update on the RFP for the tannery, we've had some interviews, and we're compiling our comments, and there'll be a report back to council as soon as we can put that together. And then finally, the last item is Monday, March 6th, we're going to have a public meeting at 6 p.m. here for the Sobeys Foodland application. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. And there's no doubt that the Hamilton Mutual Township building is gaining a lot of attention. I don't know how many people have come to me and said, what else is going in there? It's such a large building, but it is just one operation. Councillor Seguin.
Well, Councillor McCarthy, you certainly have left me a busy portfolio. I've been busy this last month, and I just love this new part of my life. It's started off when I went to Family Day for the open house of the Y, got a tour of the Y. I was anxious to see how the Y function in collaboration with possible down the road joining the CCC, and I had a great tour and saw kids of all ages, youth and adults, really enjoying the facilities. So delighted with that. I also attended a wonderful dinner for the first Coburg St. Peter's Scouting Group on Lady Baden-Powell and Lord Baden-Powell's birthday. And as a former guider, it was fun to see all these little guys and getting their scarves and their badges, and it really brought home a lot of memories for me. I had the privilege of awarding the gold, silver, and bronze to the winners of the table tennis tournament for the 55-plus Winter Games, so that was a lot of fun. And picked up the program schedule for the Coburg Seniors Activity Center, and I'm sure you guys all have this. And I'm a year away from being an official senior, so I'm sure I'm going to take part in some of these. It's not very expensive. I think it costs $1 or something, so looking forward to that. The Canada 150 committee, the winners have been selected for the 2017 Coburg Photography Contest. I don't know if any of you are out to see it. It was at the Northumberland Mall until tomorrow. And the theme was Strong, Proud, and Free, What Canada Means to Me. And they did pick 5 winners. The first was Carrie Andrews, and she had a great photograph on Canadian summers at the lake. Second place was Sarah Smith, Canada Wild and Free. And 3 third-place entries, Stuart Morley, We Will Remember Them. Third, again, Don Knutson, Fox on the Run. And third was Dan Wood, Canada Flag Day. And I checked the itinerary on the town's website. It's growing every day for Coburg2017.com, and events are being added all the time, and it's just going to be an amazing year, as it continues to be and already has so far. I did attend my first Victoria Square Phase 4 meeting. Committee met last week to look at the engineering plans and resolved a few issues that had been regarded for the current design. Planning and work does continue by this dedicated group of volunteers and staff members in the hopes that some funding will be available from the province. Nothing set yet, but there is hope that down the road they will find funds to actually get this project completed. As mentioned earlier, the Coburg BIA has adopted their new logo. It's a fresh logo, and there was a good discussion at the DBIA meeting, and I think it'll be good to finally get a logo that members can rally around and use on their marketing. And meetings have been held with the town to secure a new home for the DBIA, one that is accessible to local merchants and visitors to Cobourg. First meeting with the Cobourg Public Library Board was held last week. Happy to report that they are very well managed and looking forward to increasing membership both here in Cobourg and the other outreach areas. And they've got a lot of activities coming up on their website. They do a newsletter every month. They're really well organized, and their outreach to the community is amazing. So they are having some March break events. So if you've got any grandchildren coming to town or children in your age demographic, they've got a lot of stuff going on. Wanted to mention the Northumberland players are having their 40th anniversary gala, calling Ruby Memories. It's on the March 24th at the Cobourg Community Center. Tickets are $55 per person. So that should be a fun event for a lot of people that love theater in Cobourg. The Art Gallery of Northumberland Board, as many of you know, the Art Gallery has been without a director since September 2016. Starting today, February 27th, James Campbell started his new job as Director of Visitor Services and Administration. James comes to the AGN from the VAC, which is the Visual Arts Center in Clarington, where he worked as the Executive Director Curator for the past 7 years. We wish James all the best in his new role. I've yet to meet him, but I'm sure he'll guide the AGN in a new direction. Speaking of which, the board has hired Larity Consultants thanks to funding from Ontario Trillium Grant. They're going to be conducting a community engagement project. This is going to include community consultation sessions to review the Art Gallery of Northumberland's organization, discussing revenue generation, partner benefits, and relationship building with the community. The community will have a lot of time to tell the board and the organization what's right and what's wrong and how they can increase their revenue sources, which is really important for this group. James Campbell is going to be managing those logistics and associate costs for the project. On March 9, they're opening a new exhibit, Then and Now, Hooked Rugs in Canada. So it's a Canada 150 exhibit. They've got some funding for that. And their annual fundraiser is being held on March 25th at the Dalewood Golf Course. The theme is Put Your Heart into Art, and tickets are $160 for members and $170 for non-members. A little pricey, I think, but that's basically what they needed to in order to cover their costs. Two more things. The 20th annual Northumberland United Way Day of Caring, it will take place on Friday, June the 9th. They're seeking a suitable day of caring projects from local non-for-profits, charitable, and community organizations. Jobs range from painting, cleaning, gardening, and yard work to building sandboxes and enhancing play areas. If you have anything any businesses or nonprofits, Tuesday, March 7th is the deadline. And for more information, you can visit the United Way of Northumberland. And the last item is the 10th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, a fundraiser for Cornerstone Family Violence Prevention Center. Is coming June 17th, and Mayor Brockenier, I understand you've participated all 9 years, and you'll probably be there again this year. And the Deputy Mayor has participated for the last 6 years, and Councillor Burchett, you were there last year, I believe, right? 6 or more. Cool. And how about you, Councillor Darling? How many walking red shoes? Do you own a pair of red shoes? Have you been? You do not.
Well, now that my new knee is working just fine, I had planned on getting it this year, but I did have a valid excuse in past years.
Thank you, Councillor Seguin. Yes, I am a charter member of that club, and I will be back again this year. And I want to thank you for attending the St. Peter's Scout banquet for me. While you were there, I was at the Pathfinders for a celebration there. They had three 3 of the girls who had reached the highest level you can achieve in Pathfinders. They got their Canada Cord, and so I was at that ceremony that particular night when you were filling in for me, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Your Worship, the items of unfinished business are listed in the agenda this evening. There's no closed session this evening.
And I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councillor Rowden.